Hello everybody, my name is Wolfgang Hankeln and I'm sitting here with Adam Martiny, who is from California, the Department of Earth System Sciences. And we'll start with a couple of warm-up questions. So you just arrived in Bremen yesterday.
That's right.
And what are your first impressions?
Oh, I like it very much. I had a chance to go into city center a little bit yesterday, and I like the old town. It's very pretty.
And what about the campus? What is your impression about the campus?
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the States with the campus style. I was sort of feeling being at a university in New England. It's very pretty and very nice.
Good. Now coming to your background, can you maybe describe a little for the audience what's the kind of research that you work on?
Yes, my main, I would describe myself as a microbial ecologist. I generally study bacteria that lives in the ocean, both who they are and what they're doing. And then lately I've become very interested in studying their role in the cycling of nutrients on a global scale, because the ocean covers a big part of the ocean and are really important for the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle and the phosphorus cycle. And so to understand what the role is of marine bacteria in this, I think is really important, both for understanding the world that we live in right now, but also for predicting the future, how the future world will look like.
Okay, now coming to the short course, the main focus of the short course is bioinformatics, and you just gave your talk, so maybe you can describe, summarize in a few sentences, what is the take-home message of your talk?
Okay, yeah, so I think first of all, to realize that there's a lot of bacteria in the ocean and that they're very diverse. Second of all, bacteria has this amazing ability of gaining and losing genes through lateral gene transfer and other mechanisms. And this really creates this amazing diversity of bacteria. However, when you go in and look a little closer, you can see that it's not all just chaos. Some microbes when they live in environments where there's really little phosphorus, they become specialists in taking up phosphorus. If they live in an environment where there's very little nitrogen, they become specialists in taking up nitrogen. And these genomic variations in bacteria are really important for the cycling of nutrients. And in my later research, I'm trying to demonstrate exactly what that means for how the ocean works.
Okay, now, but the focus of the short course is on bioinformatics, and why is it important? This course is not only a theoretical course, but also a practical one, and there are a lot of students that learn basic bioinformatic methods and tools. And why do you think this is important?
I think it's important on multiple levels, but first and foremost, I think a lot of science today is big science. Whereas when I was a graduate student and my professor was a graduate student, a lot of science was done by experiments in the laboratory, where you were with your pipette and your little glassware. Today, a lot of science involves sequencing and other forms of molecular tools that generates these gigabyte size data sets. And I think every graduate student really in biology should know how to analyze these data sets. And it's very difficult because most undergraduate studies, when you get your bachelor or your master's degree in biology, for example, does not involve any computational science. And I really think that's a big problem, that modern students should be able to handle these big data sets as part of their general research.
But it's a really steep learning curve to learn all these bioinformatic tools and methods. And do you think a short course like this in 2 weeks' time is the right way to go to teach the students the methods and tools?
I think it's a great start. I don't think it's the end. I've spent 10 years in learning these things, and I think a lot of the students will experience the same. But in my own experience, I took a little short course when I was a graduate student, and that really got me going. And I think for the students here to get started, to know what are the tools that they need to know, and also getting over that sort of uncomfortableness that a lot of students have with writing any line of code, I think will be really valuable.
Great. And what do you think makes a short course like this beneficial for the participants and the speakers? What is the main important thing?
Well, I think for the students, I really think getting started on this and realizing, and I think they realized it because they applied here, that this is really important. Starting to get some tools and get to know what are the tools that they should be learning, because there's so much online and so forth, and to be told and to get an insight into the most important parts. I think that's the first thing. I think it's great for the students to get to know other students in the field. I took a 6-week graduate student summer course in microbial diversity when I was a graduate student. And for example, one of the organizers of this class was also in this course, and I got to know so many people in the field. I think for the professor, I think it's really interesting to see and meet the new young prospective scientists there, and maybe one of them will come and work with me one day. And I think it's really nice to see them and meet them and talk to them. So I think all of us gets a lot out of it.
That's true. So you have been here like the second day. Have you also already met some interesting new people? I mean, there's also this task force meeting going on in parallel. And
definitely, I got to meet a lot of interesting people and some people that I know the name of because I've been emailing with them. And it's really nice to get a face and get to talk a little more. But I look forward to spend some more time.
Yeah, and this is also like a joint effort from the EU and US. What do you think about this collaboration, and what makes a collaboration like this successful?
Well, I think it's great that there is these efforts. I mean, it's not that we do any different science in the US than people do in Europe. So I think it's natural that there are collaborations. And I think a lot of people in the US and a lot of people in Europe are collaborating, but rarely are there funds. The money is very specific to the EU and to the US. And so I think it's a great thing that the funding agencies at the two different places are coming together to fund sort of joint efforts, because I think that's the natural thing to do.
Coming to this political issue, what makes a collaboration successful in terms of funding? I mean, there's a lot of money spent in the US and in Europe, and what should be like the common vision to like so that everybody works together? Well,
I think like what this EU US task force has identified to try to find areas where there are joint interest, and then at least in the beginning have people meet each other. But they do that at meetings too, but here in a more concentrated form. And then maybe hopefully through that conversation also finding maybe some joint programs where they can put in money, because money is important for doing research. I mean, it all costs money. It costs money to travel. It costs money to do the research in the laboratory. It costs money for the students, for the tuition and salary, etc. And so I think it's really important for both the EU and the US to start to commit some funds for this collaboration, because, as I said before, we all do similar things, and so it's sort of silly that we do similar things in the EU, but we can't really do them together with the US researchers. So these joint efforts are really great.
What do you think about the organization in general? What's your impression on the whole short course, how it is organized?
I think it's great. I think this. I really like the fact that they're bringing in people from the outside to come with various perspectives and looking over the schedule. It seems like there's a lot of interesting talks. And then also, of course, there's a core group of people that are located around here that are really involved. I think that's a good setup too. And so far, I only have positive things to say. Great.
So thanks a lot for your time and answering all the questions patiently.